there, my name is ro-shaun from Forever Rovers, and this is your preview for tomorrow night's game against Shrewsbury Town. We win the game, we top the league. I had a McDonald's for dinner, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the form we're on at the minute, and we could go top of the league by a point if we beat Shrewsbury tomorrow night. We're going to talk all about that game. We have some comments to talk about as well with Darren Moore about contract situations in January, and it's something I wanted to discuss for a little while now. You guys already know that I've mentioned on this channel numerous times that the gap between the Premier League and barely the Championship to League One and League Two is a disgrace. And we're going to be talking all about that because some stuff that's come out in the free press over the last few hours, reportedly, obviously not confirmed yet, but it is reportedly, and Chief Executive Gavin Baldwin has come out and said some stuff as well. We're going to talk all about that in this preview, but of course the main focus is Shrewsbury Town, but of course it does get clouded a bit by contract talks, January window, and all this finance talk. So we're going to talk all about that in this video as well. We're actually going to sort of start with all of that before we talk about the match. Before we get started, guys, make sure you like the video if you loved it. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video, and all of that good stuff. We've got a lot of views over the last few days, over the last few videos, and we're going to keep that going. We're going to keep the content going over Boxing Day, Christmas, New Year, all that good stuff. But let's start straight away. So we've got some comments here on my trusty sources. Obviously the free press being the main one, but there are some other sources like the 72, etc., and other sources like that. But basically, it was inevitable that we got some comments about contracts, and Darren Moore has come out and said exactly what the score is. He settled the score, and he's basically come out and said, again, you have to remember the situation we're under is really different. Maybe there would have been talks now if the club had been in a better situation that could have allowed us to have those conversations. Because of where we are and the season being what it is, we know the implications it has brought. It's made things tight and really difficult. We're just working to what we've got and the parameters we've been set. The important thing is fulfilling the league fixtures and the programme, and that has been the real important issue here. In terms of discussing the players' contracts for the foreseeable future, those won't be discussed now because it will not be the right time, and it would be unfair on the club to do so right now. That's a fair statement. You've got to focus on the football, got to focus on getting top by Christmas, try and stay in that top position by the end of the year, and try and keep that going for as long as possible. And then when it comes to January 1st, then we can start talking about contracts. Now, Rovers continue to await the news of the extent of the additional funds they'll receive from the Premier League bailout package on top of the initial £375,000. This isn't like an overall package for Leagues 1 and 2 that's worth £375 million. Oh no, it's only nearly 400 grand just for the club. Now, I did see an article from the Free Press. I'm going to get it up on here right now, so I've got it. And basically it was some stuff that Gavin Baldwin come out and said. And this was to do with the sort of the funds in terms of like the Premier League bailout and sort of what's there in the pot. Now, basically, also just to give you a little bit of an update in the last hour, the CEO has actually come out in the last hour as of recording this and actually said they don't rule out the league going through like a stop of the campaign after all these big COVID outbreaks. And that's not just to do with the government, making this a wrong scenario. You've got to put blame on the people, because the people are being selfish and not thinking of the bigger picture here. People want a Christmas, people want their usual Christmas, but they don't think about the bigger picture. So the people are just as much to blame as the government. And, a lot of people will say that, and I agree with that. It's not just the government, they've handled this poorly, but I feel like the people need to take blame as well. But sort of focusing back on the bailout funds. So this report came in over the last few hours from Gavin Baldwin. You got the $375,000. Now, Chief Executive Baldwin has welcomed the rescue package and is confident the funds will help the club on steady footing throughout the remainder of the season. He revealed the club's annual budget is based on single ticket sales of 800 grand, reflecting the continued impact of COVID. Now, the Free Press has also stated that it ensures the club somewhat of an anxious wait to discover the extent of other funds funds, which will be made available within the next 10 days. So we'll hear around about in a week's time exactly what we've got to play with. And as well as the £375,000 payment, the clubs will also have access to a 15 million pot, which is expected to be shared out based on lost gate revenues, with figures set to be confirmed by the end of the year. I'm sorry, £15 million for the rest of the leagues, League One and League Two. I'm sorry, that is not enough. That is not enough. £15 million is not enough. It should be 150 million. It should be 200 million. I'm sorry, but that's not enough. They're keeping as much money as possible to the Premier League because that's where the money's at. I'm sorry, that is just not acceptable. It should be way more than 15 million. It should be 10 times more than 15 million pounds. That is a disgrace, especially for a share pot as well. That's not even like the full bailout funds. That's just like a little share pot in case you need to take stuff out. That's the disgrace. That's a disgrace to football. But they've come out, Baldwin's come out and said we're really grateful for the Premier League and the EFL finally come to an agreement. They've finally come to an agreement because Rick Parry, the old Premier League owner, by the way, the old person who used to be in charge of the Premier League once upon a time, has actually come to the Premier League and said, well, since you're the Premier League and since I used to own you, can we exchange an agreement so you get more money and we get less money, but people might blame me about I don't care, because my heart's in the Premier League, not the EFL. Yeah, Rick Parry, you're an EFL owner instead of a Premier League owner anymore because you're crap. That's the reason, you're crap. And I don't get why the EFL League One and League Two are not getting enough money and the Premier League and the Championship are stealing it all. Barely even the Championship are getting enough money. The Premier League are getting most of it. They're getting 3/4 of it. They're getting 3.5 quarters of it. They're getting most of the money, and it's not fair. It's not fair on the clubs that are in Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 of English football. Tier is probably the wrong word to use now. But they're in the 2nd division, the 3rd division and the 4th division of English football. And they're not giving enough money. But the 1st division, we're in the same pyramid, but we get more money because that's where we advertise. The Premier League, at times, are just an overhyped English 2nd division. That's all they are. They're an overhyped 2nd division. And you wonder why England haven't won a international competition since 1966. You wonder why, apart from Liverpool, and sometimes in situations Man City, and in the past we've had Chelsea and Man United, but you wonder, on a consistent back-to-back basis, that English clubs haven't won back-to-back European titles in a long, long time. Because the English leagues are getting way too much money for an overhyped 2nd division at times. That is what it is, and VAR doesn't actually make it any better. So which is why we're glad we don't have VAR, because it's absolutely rubbish. We don't want it. So basically, rather than help out all these massive potential lower league clubs that are started and let's be realistic, shall we? Leicester were a League One club quite a few years ago now, nearly 10 years ago. They were a League One club. Bournemouth were a League Two club. They were on the brink of administration. There was clubs like Wolves that were going through a bad patch. They went to League One for quite a few years ago now. You know, there's clubs in that Premier League that were in bad positions. They were in League One just like we are, just like clubs like Hull and Portsmouth and Sunderland and Peterborough and Lincoln. These clubs in League One, they were basically clubs like Wolves and Bournemouth and Leicester. They were where they are now. And something happened, something clicked, and as soon as they went into the Premier League, the gap started opening up. Look at League One, look at League Two, look at the Championship, look at the potential clubs you could see in that Premier League. We are a potential Premier League club with the right backing from the people in charge of football. Lincoln are a potential Premier League candidate. Hull could go back in with the right owners. Portsmouth, Sunderland with the right owners. You know, even Crewe and Accrington, look what they're doing this season. They could be in the Championship, possibly with us or whoever next season with the way they're going. They could be approaching the playoffs in the League One into the Championship. They've got potential to be in the Championship and maybe even go higher than that. So you need to look at these future league clubs and don't dismiss them. Look at them as potential to be just as rich and successful as the current Premier League clubs. But you're just opening the gap. You're not inviting the future. you're darkening it. And Ian Holloway said it best a few weeks ago. Remember that interview on Sky Sports? Sky Sports tried to cut him off at the end, but he wasn't having any of it. You see the interview a few weeks ago when he's still Grimsby manager. Grimsby Town could be a good club. I think there's rumours of them being taken over. They've got potential to be a big club, especially with a manager like Ian Holloway. But if they're not being given the funding, what's left for them? And the list of teams that could be going under could be extended week by week, by month, by year. It's just going to be worse. And where's the help? The government aren't doing anything. The Premier League aren't doing jack. Rick Parry's a selfish prat. Well, I was going to say the word then. He's a selfish prat. Basically, that's the nicest way of putting it. Rick Parry's an old Premier League owner. No wonder you've seen less and less money in this agreement. He's a selfish prat, end of. And you have to wonder where the cut-off point is. When is enough to say, well, hang on a minute. Since the late 90s, the Premier League have been getting way too much money and little clubs have been going under the heart of a community. When is enough enough? Was Bury enough? Was Macclesfield enough? Was Hereford United enough? You know, where's the cut-off point? Are we going to get to a stage where Arsenal keep going down the leagues and, you know, they're in a relegation battle right now in the Premier League? Are we going to get to a stage where Kroenke, you know, takes more money than spends money in Arsenal, and Arsenal are going to keep slipping down the leagues and losing the talent? Is Arsenal going to be another Leeds United or another Sheffield United story or another, shall we say, Leicester story? You know, is it going to be another Leeds United story where a big club, or a Newcastle United story even, where a big club falls a division because they don't spend on the football, they spend on the business, and they're good businessmen, so they're perfect for the league? You know, when is enough enough? When is enough? When is the cut point for this? And if we don't change now, there's only going to be the Premier League and maybe even the Championship. There's only going to be two divisions. And then Leagues 1 and League 2 get transformed into regional non-league divisions. When is the cut-off point? Because that's what will happen. The bottom two divisions of English football's professional level out of the four, League 1, League 2, will become non-league regional Premiership divisions. So they'll become non-league football clubs, and many of them will go out of business. And they'll just have the Championship and the Premier League, because that's where the money's at. So where is the cut-off point to say enough's enough, every club should get the same amount of advertising as the Premier League? Yes, people can say, oh, well, the Premier League's more watchable than League One. BS. Absolute BS when you've got things like VAR and poor refereeing, which we do have. We have poor referees as well. But when you have VAR and you have absolutely worthless players just collecting... Look at Arsenal. The reason why they're 15th is because the players are not playing to the way they could be. They're stealing a wage check, stealing a living, and just going with the flow. That's why Arsenal are where they are. They do not care. They're throwing managers under the bus that are good potential future coaches like Mikel Arteta. Unai Emery could have been something. Arsene Wenger could have left on a high legacy. But the power, the money, everything just kept the trash at the club, and it's just turned to ruin. So what is the cut-off point? Do we have to turn League 1 and League 2 into non-league regional Premiership divisions for the cut-off point to be enough? We need to do, and I said this before in a video, my idea is a Sky Sports League 1 and Sky Sports League 2, where instead of having just selected games on the channels as well as extra programmes, I would have a red button option. Same with the Premier League, same with the Championship. I'd have a Sky Sports Championship as well. So if you've got a Sky Sports Premier League channel, have one for the Championship, have one for League 1 and have one for League 2. Then have a red button option so that every match is available to watch on that channel at the same time. So you have a red button, so let's just say they've got a selected match on there, but you also have a red button option where you can select a different match. And it's not a price per match. Even if there's a red button option, it's a price for all the matches. So you can watch all the matches. You don't have to pay separately. Like, instead of, you know, having a selected match, but you want to go on the red button and watch a different match at the same time, and then there's a price option. You don't pay individually for different matches. You pay for the entire thing. And that gives more money to League 1 clubs, League 2 clubs, Championship clubs, and then they're just as financially sustainable and survival as the Premier League clubs. That would be my scenario, because ITV Digital collapsed, the football leagues became distant from the Premier League in terms of finances, and there needs to be a cut-off point and a closing of the gap. and individual Sky Sports channels, individual BT Sport channels, like what BT do with Vanarama National League. There needs to be individual channels with red button options, priced for the whole thing, not individual matches, but the whole thing, so more money will go into these clubs. That would be my scenario, personally. So yeah, all of that came out, and then what do we do now? We have a look at the game. We have a look at the game, which should be on the Sky Sports League One channel with a red button option, but unfortunately, because they're too power hungry in the Premier League and the Championship, they'll only show Premier League and Championship games on Sky Sports. So there we go. And it's up to iFollow to try and make up the money, but the problem is, you pay a tenner for a stream that buffers, lags, doesn't work for 10 minutes. We've had these problems and they're not fixing them. And you wonder why so many fans complain. So looking ahead then at this Shrewsbury match tomorrow night, obviously you see the team lineup somewhere on the screen. Obviously one big change from the starting lineup against Burton, and that is that Taylor is on the bench, L'Aquilo gets minutes. Now the reason why I've done that is because Darren Moore talks about rotation, and we're going to see a lot of rotation. 9 games in 26 days, 23 days, something like that, he said on the article yesterday. Darren Moore wants to give minutes to players that don't usually play as much, so players like L'Aquilo, Hassani, Joe Wright's going to get back in the squad at some point. They're going to give minutes to these players. I've got no doubt that Fajiri Okunabiri is going to start against his old club tomorrow night. I think that Okunabiri's deserved a starting place, and if he lacks in the game, then you bring on John Jules for more firepower. The form we're on, we can go top of this league. That is the story. We can go top of this league if we win tomorrow night. And we go a point clear of the rest of them. And we still have another game to play. So, and then on the Saturday, it's Accrington at home. That's a big game because look at what Accrington are doing right now, especially with their games in hand. They could overtake every single team and be top of the league with their games in hand, especially if we lose to them on the Saturday. So we need to be extra careful, beat Shrewsbury tomorrow night, beat Accrington on Saturday, and stay top of this league, because we can do something. Finally, I saw on Twitter a podcast talking about Doncaster, when we should give them the same respect as Lincoln, Hull, Portsmouth, etc. Thank you, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but thank you to that podcast for giving us respect. Because if you look at the form table, I saw this online actually, there's a form table, and over the last 6 games, we are top of the league in terms of form. I think it's 5 wins and a loss, which was the Hull defeat. So, looking at that, that is amazing. We need to keep that going. We've found our form now. We can't let it drop. We can't be one of those inconsistent clubs. We've got to keep that going. And the way we do that is playing the stars. And this is another thing, and this links to what I was saying earlier about the money situations in football clubs. We've got 11 top players out of contracts in the summer. I know they're not going to talk about contracts now, they're focusing on the football, but you've got to think of it in the back of your mind. The likes of Halliday, Wright, James, Taylor, all these players are out of contracts in the summer. We need to give them brand new contracts. Without the money to do that, we've got no chance. They're going to get snapped up by a bigger team in the Championship or even the Premier League club, and we've got no chance. Then we'll have limited resources going into potentially a Championship season where we could be facing the likes of Sheffield United, West Brom, potentially Arsenal, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but we're going to have limited sources, and you'll wonder if we finish bottom of the division with hardly any points, because we weren't given the finances to compete with these teams, because they only care about the teams in the Championship and the Premier League. So there needs to be a financial situation where everyone is happy, not just some people, not just screw the rest, don't just screw the people that are struggling, don't just reward the people that are, the good thing is about Doncaster Rovers, we're not in an administration situation. We've got Baldwin come out in that statement about the bailout funds that I showed you guys today in this video, and he said at the end, we're not in a situation where we're going to enter administration. Yes, budgets are tight, but we're not going into administration. This is not an administration situation. We're all right as a club, we're balancing the books, but we need more. That's the message from all of the EFL fans. We need more. And if we're in the Championship next season, and we are going to compete with the likes of Sheffield United and West Brom and potentially Burnley that come down from the Premier League, or maybe even Brighton or Fulham or, God forgive us, Arsenal. If we're playing the likes of Arsenal, Sheffield United and West Brom or Burnley or Fulham next season in the Championship as a second tier club, then the EFL need to look at teams like Doncaster, and they need to look at teams like Wycombe Wanderers, who are in there now, Luton Town, who are in there now, and it's a proper working class statement, but we have to do it ourselves. We have to earn the money ourselves. We have to earn the right to be in that division, because we're going to have to do an impressive journey in the FA Cup. We've got Blackburn in January. Hopefully we get past them and get a Premier League team and test ourselves in round 4. We've got the league. We're in a race for at least playoffs, if not automatic. We could be top of the table tomorrow night after the game if we win against Shrewsbury, and then keep top of the league against Accrington Stanley. It's on the Saturday, and we have to do it ourselves. If the Premier League and the government aren't going to give us the money, we have to earn it ourselves through the FA Cup and through the League One. So it's a very, very difficult time. And to be fair, Darren Moore said it. If it wasn't for this pandemic, we would have begun contract talks by now. So we have to think of the situation. We have to think logistically about COVID as well. We have to take that into account. But that doesn't give the Premier League and Rick Parry an excuse to not put money into the most struggling clubs. Yes, we're not in an administration situation, but we still need money if we're going to compete in the Championship. So we need help. We need help to sustain our top players. Reece James is out of contract. He's going to get some suitors. Brad Halliday, he's going to get some wanters. The likes of Joe Wright, he's going to get some watchers. And John Taylor, he's going to get some people watching him. Loads of players are going to get watched by a lot of different big clubs. Liam Ravenhill's got Premier League interest. We need to sign him on a professional contract. Josh Sims, Southampton want to cash in on him, and we want to keep him 100%, and he 100% wants to stay here. So are we going to go for a permanent deal? Are we going to go for a loan to the end of the season and then cash in the summer with the money from promotion? Or what's the scenario going to be there? We don't know. Lumley, we need to sign him on a deal to the end of the season, which is probably the likely case with the goalkeeper situation. We're likely going to have Lumley to the end of the season and then buy a brand new goalkeeper in the summer with the money from promotion. And this is where the top clubs and the top Premier League have got to come in. Marcus Rashford is feeding hungry kids. Can Marcus Rashford feed hungry clubs as well? But no, all seriousness, congratulations to Marcus Rashford for his BBC Sports Personality of the Year award. His special panel award for what he does off the pitch, as well as what he does on the pitch. Inspiration, love the guy, Marcus Rashford. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to Jordan Henderson for getting second place in the Sports Personality of the Year award as well, the main one. And of course Jurgen Klopp for winning Coach of the Year. Liverpool won Team of the Year. A lot of things for football. And shout out to the rest of the sports stars from that award ceremony last night. But yeah, overall, it's going to be an interesting watch off the field, because I've got no doubt, funds or not, this board will back this manager. We're in a position where we could be top of the league if we win tomorrow night against Shrewsbury. And my prediction, by the way, for this game is going to be a 3-0 win. I think we'll flatten Shrewsbury, but that's not me saying it's going to be a comfortable match. It's going to be like Burton, where they give us a good showing, because Shrewsbury have got a brand new manager. They've won a couple on the bounce. Shrewsbury have got form on their side, as well as us. So it's whoever's form is better, who wants to risk their form in this game. And I think that we're going to risk it by playing loads of attacking football, but I think we'll get the result we need, hopefully. So I'm going to be bold and predict 3-0, but I think Shrewsbury will come at us with a good few attacks, but hopefully Lumley and the defence will be equal to them, and we'll do what we did against Burton and shut their attacks down, like a shop being forced to close due to people being idiots and restrictions being raised. Let's close them down on their attacks. And financially, off the pitch, like I said, the board will back the manager. We're in a title race. We are in a title race, believe it or not. And Darren Moore needs the backing, and the board will give him the backing. But if we're not given the funds to back the manager, by the Premier League, by the Championship, by Rick Parry, the selfish prat, and the people in charge of football, then we have to do it ourselves. We have to do it on a limited budget and try and do it ourselves. And we have to prove people wrong as well. So, there we go. Big preview video today. It's a big preview video, I know, but I need to say all those things today about the funds and, you know, things like that. So hopefully we'll win against Shrewsbury tomorrow night. We'll get the match review on tomorrow night around about 9:30. So hopefully stay tuned between 9 and maximum 10:10 to see that review. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. Stay tuned for the match review tomorrow night. And for now, I'm Aaron Chandler from Forever Rovers, and that, my friends, is full time.